Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Super excited to have Kerry here today to introduce herself and her business, Admin Superheroes. So I will start off with Kerry. Please introduce yourself, who you are, what's your background, and what led you to start Admin Superheroes.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So I'm the founder of the Admin Superheroes, and we are a business and team management solution. So we come in and run the business on behalf of the owner. So the beauty of that means that the owner gets that relief, because quite often they're stuck in the weeds, and that's where we come in to save the day. So a little bit about my background. I have a very varied background. I've basically been the fixer in every role that I've been in. They throw me in a role, I fix it, they recruit. So I've become very good at getting processes super efficient and making sure that everyone has everything they need to perform at their best.
Which is often a big gap in small businesses, right? Like everyone starts a business and they have to wear all the hats, but they get to a point where suddenly they're doing everything and they don't have the time to do everything, but there's no structured processes to hand over to someone. So I'm sure that someone with your skill set really adds a lot of value to business owners when they're trying to, go into that next phase.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we do.
Awesome. So let's start off with a couple of questions. I'll try and stick to both sell and buy side, but also just business in general. Obviously, what you do is very relevant to all areas in business. So starting off with preparing for a sale or acquisition, how can outsourcing key operations help a business owner prepare for a sale and make the business more attractive to a buyer?
Yeah, so in my experience, what I've found is that when a business is heavily reliant on the owner doing all of the things, it's kind of a little bit of a red flag for a lot of the really serious buyers. So buyers really want something that runs smoothly without them, because a lot of the time, and they'll pay more for it, to be honest, because they want to come in and they want to be able to just kind of run it and kind of collect the cream. Like a lot of owners that are looking to buy businesses, that's kind of what they want. So they need a really good team. They want to keep the team. They want to make sure that it's managed well and that they're basically just doing the high level decision making. So it's really important that all your documented tasks and systems are in place so that you can make that transition easy for the buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think if I think about it on the buy side, when I'm looking at a business, from my perspective, a business that is heavily reliant in multiple areas on the current owner, that's a big risk for someone coming into the business, because if they pull themselves out, suddenly there's a lot of holes. And oftentimes, if there's no structured processes and systems, you have to get that information out of the old owner's head into your head in order to create that system and process. So from a risk perspective on the buy side, which I think is probably the bigger red flag for buyers, is, if, as you said, if the business runs by itself with or without the owner, it's a lot more of an interesting investment.
Yes, absolutely. Makes it easier to scale too.
100%, absolutely. It's ready to go that way.
Yep.
So what are some operational inefficiencies to make a business harder to sell, or that make a business harder to sell, and how can outsourcing solve them?
Yeah, so some of the biggest things that I see is obviously the bottleneck in decision making. So if everything's got to go through the owner, then, it makes it really hard to sell, because like I said, the new owner kind of wants to be able to sit back and just kind of worry about the big things. But if every little tiny decision goes through the owner, then there's such a big bottleneck in the business, makes it really slow to scale, and sometimes opportunities can be missed. So when it comes to bringing in someone who's outsourced, someone like us, we're fractional operations managers, we're all ex-corporate ops managers. We come in, we can make sure all the decisions are made by us. If they're not something that we can make the decision on, we will find the solution and offer 3 choices. We also tidy up the financials, because quite often there's a lot of businesses that are relying on the owner that don't have any, and they have no reporting, and they're making decisions without any data. So we clean up all that kind of thing as well. And obviously outsourcing, getting all the documentation and the SOPs ready to go so that your business is ready to sell.
And I mean, that in itself, if I think about 2 businesses side by side that are exactly the same, that I've put on the market, one with all of that structure and process put in place and another one that's not, one's a lot more of an attractive investment or an opportunity, and you, like you said earlier, it's probably more open to paying a little bit more with something that's ready to go. You're not buying yourself a job, you're buying yourself an actual business and an investment to kind of grow from there.
That's absolutely right. It's very crucial, to be
So
honest.
yeah, yeah. So post acquisition, so let's say after settlement on the buyer side, what's some of the first operational tasks a business buyer should consider outsourcing if they don't buy a business that's already kind of doing that?
Yeah, so they definitely should be outsourcing the operation side of the business. Um, and that could be anything from customer support, anything from admin tasks, financial reporting, everything operational and strategy can be done in an outsourced role, including documenting additional playbooks and things that aren't already there. Um, it just allows the new owner to, free up their bandwidth to focus on big picture strategy. And we can help, or not even us, if you go with someone else who does this, you can bring someone in and they can focus on making sure that that strategy is implemented. And that's really important because quite often that falls back on whoever purchases the business. And so not only is the outsourced person hands on, but they're also making sure that the team delivers.
Oh, I love that, because if I think about the majority of small to medium businesses that I interact with, oftentimes when the owner is wearing all the hats, it's either execution or strategy, and you can't do both. So one always is prioritized over the other. So you're always kind of jumping from one to the other, and there's no consistency. So which delays growth, right? So if you've got
Yep,
someone to focus on the execution side of things while you're focused on the strategy and business development and growth, you can move a lot faster.
absolutely. And when the owner is trying to jump between the two, quite often strategy is the one that doesn't win. It's
Yeah,
always
that's right. Yeah,
execution because execution brings in the money.
that's it. Yeah, exactly. What are the biggest mistakes new owners make when trying to manage everything themselves instead of outsourcing key tasks?
Yeah, so they're trying to replicate themselves. So when they try and outsource, so they really need to step into a leadership role and be like a true CEO and a true business owner instead of just a business operator. So it's really, really important for them to understand the difference because they need to be able to have clear expectations and processes in order to support their team so that they can take over the operator side of the business so that the team can focus on all the revenue generating activities and making sure all those things fall into place. And the new owner can actually discover new avenues and expand the business.
Such a good point. I think to kind of reiterate what you said on in terms of there's the operator and then there's the executive or strategic kind of leader, and there's definitely there's a different skill set. And often many business owners get to the point where they are the operator, they know everything in the business, and in order for them to step up to that next level, which often comes back to the excuse of I've been screwed around before, I can't find the right people, but actually it's a leadership problem, it's a gap in their leadership skills. So
Yeah.
really well pointed out there that the gap between business operations manager versus that strategic leader is a big step up, and many business owners would do a lot better by investing in themselves. So someone like you can come in and invest the time and execution in the business.
Absolutely. And one of the other things that they kind of really struggle in with is letting go because
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
the existing business owner, it was their baby, right?
Mm,
So to let go is really hard because they
it
think that
is
only they
particularly,
can do it
yeah,
right.
and I often, and you probably hear it as well. I often hear that no one can do it as good as I can,
All the
and that's
time.
fine, and I agree with it's probably right. But the way I see it is, if someone can do it at 80% of your output, you still get 100% of your time back to do those strategic things. So everyone wins. Yes, you have to accept that someone's going to make some mistakes, or there's 20% gap there, but that they can develop. But yeah, really good point there.
But it also means that you could um, tweak your processes so that that 80% eventually gets closer to 100.
100%. Absolutely. Yep. It's a process. You can't just
Process and
fill
training.
your boots with someone at 100%. That's good.
That's
So
right.
finding the right people and systems is obviously important, and we just touched on that. How do you determine whether to outsource a task to a contractor, hire an in-house team member, or automate it with software?
Yeah, so something that's done all the time, something and it's repetitive, you can automate. There's so many different softwares out there. You can just got to find the right one. And a lot of the time, if you've got someone who's in our type of role, we'll go and do all that research for you and make sure it's the right fit for the business. So anything that's super repetitive that can doesn't really need a brain to think about, automate. When it comes to a special skill, but you don't really need someone full time, I'd go for a contractor. It's very hard to find someone in the part time space for like 5, 10 hours a week, right? No one
Mm,
really wants to get a job that's only 5 or 10 hours a week. So
yep.
contractor's the way to go. If it's an ongoing core business function that's kind of a full time type role, definitely an in house hire. So go in house. The other beauty as well is put them on like a trial, like test them first, bring them on as just a casual, test them out, and then offer them a permanent role if that's the way you want to go.
Yeah, great points there. I think it is easy to assume when you need to hire someone, which I think prevents a lot of business owners from hiring, is that you have to just go straight full-time employee. And you made some great points, particularly around if it's only a few hours a week, you're probably not going to end up with the right candidate or attract the right candidates if you're only offering that. So, outsourcing is a really great way to go. What are some of the best practices for onboarding outsourced professionals so they don't add more stress to a business owner's plate?
Yeah, so definitely your SOPs are going to come into play here. And if you don't have any, then at the first beginning, you're going to need to go through that in the onboarding process so that they can be developed. Trial period, again, is always a great option for outsourced professionals. Clear expectations, setting the expectation on how you wish to communicate, what's the best way to communicate with your client, and what they need in order to get that relief in their business.
Nice, nice. Um, and many business owners feel they need to do everything themselves. I think we've touched on this already, right? But what's the first step to breaking that mindset and successfully outsourcing?
Yeah, so they need to shift from I can do it myself to is it the best use of my time? They need to
Mm,
start thinking in a growth mindset more more so than in a scarcity mindset because that's a really big thing in business. Like especially when you first start out, you do everything yourself because you're like, "Oh, I don't have a lot of money to pay someone else." So you need to shift eventually when you are making some decent money to is this the best use of my time? Is this what I love doing? Or does it really drive me insane? And anything that's non-revenue generating, delegate that out to test the waters so it doesn't impact any of your client relationships and start there. Also, outsourcing isn't about losing control, it's actually about gaining freedom. So you need to kind of understand that when you're looking at it and
mm.
really enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, no, I think, and I was chatting to Jamie yesterday about a similar thing, and I think, looking at it in outsourcing, let's talk about outsourcing. Looking at outsourcing as, oh, I need to, spend this more money is probably not the greatest way to look at it. Looking at it as an investment in the business so you can use your time more strategically, like you said, and do more dollar producing tasks. It actually helps you go further faster. And to your point, a lot of people go into business to create freedom in their lives and don't get the freedom because they get stuck in the operation. So that helps them get out of that and kind of create a little bit more freedom and flexibility in their life.
Yeah, and I've also seen it in some businesses where, especially in a creative space, maybe or a consultancy space where they're really good at like project management consultancy, right? Business running, not their thing.
Mm,
But, it's kind of turned into this agency and all of a sudden they've got to do all the things, right? But maybe they're best sourced in that project management consultancy space and leaving the business running to someone else. They don't have to do that part, and it doesn't always have to be, I need to gain freedom and work on strategy. It could be the
mm.
fact that they're just letting it go so that they can do the things that they do best.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I've been talking to a lot of allied health business owners recently, and a lot of them get stuck in that. Like they do a lot of study, they do a lot of clinical work and on hands-on, and then they get a lot out of the clinical side of things and helping people. And when they go into business, they realize that they really don't like the business side of things, and they just really get most out of it. And they find that investing either in outsourcing or bringing in partners that have that expertise, it just creates a whole new world for them because they can focus on what they love. They still own a business, but they're not getting tied up with things that they're not great at and they don't love doing.
That's right.
Um, Cost versus ROI of outsourcing. So outsourcing can feel like an added cost, like we mentioned before. How can business owners shift their thinking to see it as an investment that generates an ROI?
Yeah, so they need to really focus on the fact that, if they're making $200 an hour as a consultant and they're still doing $20 to $50 tasks, they really need to outsource it.
Mm,
You know, if it's not their specialty, outsource is the way to go. Because if you're spending 10 hours a week doing your admin and all the operation side of the business, that's a lot of money you're leaving on the table where you could be going out and earning $200 an hour. So that's what they need to really look at. And the opportunity cost of spending time on low value tasks, they need to think about more revenue, not costs. It really is an
mm,
investment. And, we invest in all kinds of things, and it could be, investing in the gym for our health and fitness, or it could be investing in coaches. It's really no different. We need to invest in ourselves if we want to grow, and that includes our business.
yeah, I love that. And I guess what's one, and on this topic, I should say, what's one task that you often see business owners commonly hold on to for too long?
Um, oh God, probably the management of the team and their
Yeah.
finances.
Mm. Funny you say that. A lot of business owners that I speak with in terms of selling their business or even looking at bringing on partners, a lot of the conversation is around leadership. It's like, yeah, I just don't want to deal with people. I don't want to lead people anymore, and like it's that they
All
feel
the
like they
time.
have to because they're the business owner and they don't see another way to do it.
Yes. Yeah. Quite often, like it's one of the key things. That's why we focus on team management as well, because
Mm,
we love it. Like
yeah,
we're built that way. But, not all owners are. And
yeah,
the funny thing, when you bring someone like us on board, we're coming like a business partner. Like we become your
mm,
business partner, your
yep,
business bestie and mentor and therapist all rolled into one, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because they business owners, it's really lonely for them. And they have this everyone has the roller coaster of emotions that goes on when you're a business owner, and they have those freak out moments, and you can't talk to your employees about any of those things. You can't
yeah.
go, oh no, we had a really bad month, I don't think I'm going to be able to pay myself. So but you can talk to us and we go, right, okay, let's get to the root cause of this, let's see how we can fix it, let's turn it around. And we don't judge. We've all been there.
100%. And I think you made a really good point. I think it's easy for business owners because they're in the position that they're in that it is lonely. They don't feel like they can kind of openly, particularly to their team, talk about how they're feeling and how they're going. And it's probably very easy to assume that well they're the business owner and they just have to do everything because that's what they think running a business is. Until they kind of have that mindset shift and understand that it's not all about you having to do everything. It's finding the right people to support you to kind of grow your business and give you the life that you want to build instead of feeling stuck inside the business operations and not seeing any way out.
Yep.
Um, what's an example of a business that saw a major transformation simply to by simply outsourcing a function?
Yeah, so we've had quite a few different examples, and one of them really hit home the other week for me, and that was like we've had clients that bring us in to look at their financials and, run all their internal projects. And it wasn't until about 6 months later that the client just turned around and goes, it's great. I just don't have to think about that anymore.
Mm,
And he's just gone, I don't worry about if anything's done. I know all the bills are paid. I know that my reporting's there. I can see what my profit is every
hmm
month instead of just guessing, which is so common for so many owners that have no financial reporting at all. And he goes, it's just great. I don't think about it. And I just let you go. And I know that when I go, I need this done, he goes, I know it just gets done. And that's the kind of thing that you just can't quantify, like that relief that they get.
Yeah.
And it's such a big weight lifted off their shoulders.
Yeah, that's great. And I think I'm sure many of the members listening can really relate to that feeling of having so many things on your list that you have to do and things not getting done because it's up to you or someone else that you need to lead and manage. But outsourcing, having it outsourced with a partner who is one, reliable and does the job properly, takes a massive weight off. And it comes back to what we were saying before. It gives you that freedom, mental space and energy to do other things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, from my perspective, it's great to see that growth in my clients. Like I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And, like another one that we worked with, when we got in there was no processes, there was no team management, they were fielding questions day in, day out, multiple times a day, so they couldn't get anything done. We came in, we set all those things up. I took over the management of the team, and we got it to a point where his business was then able to sell. And it
Nice.
sold for more than what he would have been able to sell it for prior to us coming in because
Great
of those
outcome.
things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what everyone wants, right? Particularly people planning to sell or getting ready to sell. If you can do a few things leading up to it to get you a better outcome, well, that's better for everyone. The buyer gets a better business, that's a better investment, and the seller gets a better price. So win-win for everyone.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So it's been really great chatting to you this morning, Kerry. Before we go, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the group? Any thoughts?
Oh, look, I think it's just important to remember that it's okay to ask for help, because quite often we think that we can't. And it's just, reach out and ask for help. Don't be afraid to do that. We don't know it all. Everyone doesn't know it all. And, there's things I don't know that you might know, right? So it doesn't matter. Just ask for help and get the help that you need so that you can deliver what you want to deliver and live the life that you want to live.
100%. Yeah, well said. Well said. Well, thanks for joining again, guys. I hope you really got a lot out of Kerry's meeting today. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments. Kerry will be on to answer your questions, and otherwise, feel free to reach out and ask more questions. Thanks, guys. Chat to you soon.